Welcome to the Haymaker MMA Show with your hosts, Tanai Shah and Ian Wall.
UFC 260, Stipe Miocic and Ngannou 2, everyone's favorite fireman against the scariest man on the UFC roster. Stipe, my favorite dude in the UFC currently and in history as far as my favorite fighters go. So I'm really nervous about this one, especially against a Francis Ngannou. Unfortunate we lost the Volkanovski-Ortega fight. How did you I know it doesn't matter, but how did you think that one was going to play out?
I thought Ortega really improved in his last fight against the Korean Zombie, but I still have Volkanovski. I think Volkanovski is just too good everywhere to cancel Ortega out. And then I thought he would have won and set up the third fight with Max Blessed, my favorite fighter on the roster. But I don't know. I would be rooting for Ortega in that one, but I think that Volkanovski had the edge everywhere, just about a little bit everywhere.
Yeah, definitely slept on. You go back to his Aldo fights and stuff just because Max is so goddamn good. He gets hated on for his the second win that he definitely didn't win that goddamn fight. But I agree. On paper, or when you watch the fights, you're like, damn, Ortega's looking great in these last couple, but Volkanovski is a great-ass fighter.
All right, up next in the main card, we got Jamie Mullarkey from Australia. The Aussie boy, very, very well-rounded mixed martial artist, taking on Kama Worthy, who's also another very well-rounded mixed martial artist. They both can knock you out. They both can submit you. They've had a decent amount of ups and downs in the recent past. Mullarkey lost his last couple. Kama Worthy lost his last one, but he really did well against Luis Pena, which he pulled out a submission and everything, which we really got a different side of him. I think this is going to be a banger of a fight. It's really tough to call, but who you got, man?
Yeah, I think Mullarkey's got like one of the toughest, super tough Australian dude. But I look at Kama Worthy. He's coming off of the KO loss to Otman Azaitar. Didn't look the cleanest, but also exactly. And he got caught. Sometimes you just get fucking caught. Doesn't matter what kind of fighter you are, how good, how bad. Sometimes you just get caught. But before that, he had a good win over Luis Pena. He looked good in the first round, looked like shit in the second. He got, kind of just out-wrestled and controlled on the ground there in the second. But in the third, pulled off a nasty guillotine. He was going for it for most of the fight. Has a really, really good guillotine. Does the arm, sometimes the Marcellitine, where the arm isn't in. And then I look at, Mullarkey, who's not really elite in his striking, but he's so tough and he's so kind of gritty that I think, I looked at some of his other fights before the UFC and he was more, really relied more on his hands and his striking power and stuff, but I think since he's got to the UFC, he's realized that the UFC guys, their striking, I think, is on an extra or a better level, and he's fallen back more to his grappling games here. Recently, you can see the last two fights he had. You could see his success, or his path to success, was going to be in the grappling game. Brad Riddell is a fucking amazing striker, so I can't really hurt or knock him too much on that for losing that one in his UFC debut. And then he went up against a little less experienced French kid who the wrestling couldn't get him down. He was too long, even though he's not an experienced grappler, have good takedown defense, and judging by that and seeing how he couldn't really control the French guy Fares Ziem on the ground like he needed to. He's getting outclassed on the feet. I think Kama Worthy presents a similar striking skill set to that fight. The Fares Ziem fight, Mullarkey's last fight in the UFC. And I don't think he's going to be able to take him down. I think Kama Worthy has better takedown defense than the last two guys he's fought. And that being said, I think that Kama Worthy's going to not skate, but have a really good chance of winning this one, whether it be a decision or catching a KO. See it different.
You think Kama Worthy could snatch his neck like he did Luis Pena?
I think there's a super high chance.
I think there's a possibility, right?
Yeah, one of my things is I can see a couple different ways that this goes. Worthy getting like an accumulation TKO. Mullarkey takes a lot of damage and he keeps coming forward, and just Mullarkey survives to win or to lose a decision to Worthy, or the smallest chance of victory, I think, is Mullarkey just grappling for a wrestling prayer, but also he shoots all of his takedowns that he goes for are pressed up against the cage, works singles and doubles, and that's when Worthy's so deadly with that guillotine. So look out for a little Worthy guillotine submission.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just
I put a quarter unit.
Prop.
Yep,
Yeah.
I put a quarter unit on. I got it written down here in my
That's what
notes.
I'm thinking. Up next, we got a UFC vet, flyweight women's. We got Jillian Robertson, who's had an up and down run in the UFC forever. She's well balanced in her striking, but she tends to wrestle a little more, taking on the newcomer, one of the hottest prospects in the women's divisions. At flyweight, we got Miranda Maverick. She looks so good in her first fight. If you remember, it was on the Khabib card. Her striking is on point. She broke the girl's nose. And I thought she looked phenomenal at what she did. So my obvious pick is Miranda Maverick for this one. Although Jillian Robertson has surprised some people. She can grind it out. She can really take some people to deep waters and really get a decision. That's what she's known for. But I think Miranda Maverick's just too crisp, too young, too hungry, and I think she'll get it done. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I always feel like Jillian Robertson is one of the bigger, longer girls in that division. Miranda Maverick is only 2 inches shorter than her, even though she looks kind of really small. Jillian Robertson, total grappling background, isn't very good on the feet at all. And like you mentioned, you had Miranda Maverick had a great showing in her debut against Liana Jojua, who's not a bad fighter in her own right. Definitely a little bit of a not elite by any means, but sometimes can bring intensity, which is good. But Jillian Robertson is so inconsistent, so hard to put your money on in any situation. Doesn't really. Sometimes she comes out and imposes her will, and when she does, she's a fantastic wrestler, grappler, jiu-jitsu player in that division. But when she doesn't, she kind of looks like she doesn't want to be there, and it's usually an easier night for the opponent. If that that scenario that I just mentioned plays out, I think Miranda Maverick's a perfect person to fill that spot. I think she's going to go after it. I think she's going to be, bring it for her second UFC fight. I think she's a legit contender here. But I'm going to stay away from this fight. But I think Jillian Robertson's wrestling credentials would give her the nod if she does everything right like she's supposed to. I just see her physicality, being able to control Miranda on the ground, and it's my crystal ball is cloudy on this one, but I would lean Jillian Robertson and hope that she has gotten her shit together over her career.
I was gonna say that the line is too close at -165 for Maverick, but I think she's just so much better. I have not seen Jillian Robertson really turn up in her last few fights. She hasn't done enough, I think, even though she's won two out of the last 3. I don't think she's done that well. Her last fight, I don't think she looked that good. And what Miranda Maverick's coming off of, and with all that big ass debut where she got her first knockout of her career, I think she's gonna do really well.
I'm the one fight
but
I will say.
Obviously, the grappling stuff, Matt. I understand that too.
Right, the women's MMA rule.
Yeah.
But the one fight that I watched that gave me more confidence on her is her Courtney Casey fight, and the fact that she is constantly competing in professional grappling bouts, whether it be no-gi jiu-jitsu, wrestling stuff. So she's always in that. So I feel like her logically her grappling should still be progressing from fight to fight, and that's really her win condition here. Again, not confident in this one at all, but I would lean.
So you think it's gonna go like Brunson and Holland, maybe?
Where the for sure.
Guy gets a platform to go against Derek Brunson, where Miranda Maverick's getting her shot against an experienced vet in Jillian Robertson.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
You think Jillian Robertson will shut her up a little bit.
Definitely
to a certain extent, not
watered
exactly,
down version of it. Yeah.
Yeah, watered down version.
But yeah, I guess you can compare it to that. Yeah, I agree.
On their website, and the UFC I don't know how they haven't figured it out. They're the biggest organization. It's
When you
ridiculous.
search a fighter in the UFC website, you type like 3 letters, and then it searches for you. Then you have to type the next 4 letters, and
Yeah.
it keeps searching. It's like fucking hey, boys,
It's
figure
not
it out.
user friendly. It's
Not
not
at
user
all.
friendly at all.
Exactly.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Let's move on to the
Yeah.
Sugar Show, the return of the Sugar Show, one of the most hyped fighters in the UFC, and I kind of believe rightfully so. He was doing really well. He killed it on the Contender Series. He got suspended for the Kush. He came back, knocked out a couple guys, dropped one to Cheeto Vera where he got TKO'd by leg kicks, and he's taking on the experienced Thomas Almeida, the well-rounded as well. I'll mention that.
Yeah, why the fuck do I know the name Thomas Almieda? He hasn't won too many fights. He hasn't been in too many fucking fights against the biggest guys, but I feel like I just know he's been in the UFC games or was on the front of them. I don't even remember what the hell it was, but I just know his name.
He's been at the company for about 10 fights, I'd say. That's probably why, but recently he hasn't done well. I think Dana White's still riding the Sugar Show. All the matchmakers are as well. He's a minus 330 favorite, which is a little steep for me after what happened in the last fight.
Way too steep.
Yeah, but I think they're going to ride with this guy because he attracts fans. He's that striker. He's that pure striker that you want to see like Izzy or Connor. And I think he has what it takes to beat Thomas Almeida. I'll say that. I won't be surprised if he knocks him out too.
Absolutely. I will say also he's definitely in the UFC. His whole game has been striking, but he's been doing all the jiu-jitsu stuff and like Jillian Robertson doing jiu-jitsu competitions outside of the UFC. So hopefully we might see a little evolution to that game. We can see his fallbacks if the striking doesn't work out. But while I was thinking, why the fuck do I know Thomas Almeida? You know, in his last fights, lost to Jonathan Martinez, Rob Font, Jimmy Rivera. Three killers. We saw Jonathan Martinez get KO'd by Davey Grant last week, but before that he was on a tear and was really looking fucking phenomenal. And then Rob Font, obviously one of the best strikers in the division. Jimmy Rivera,
New
a
England
dog.
Cartel.
Right.
Just knocked out Moraes.
Right.
He's
and
done right.
Then he had a KO. Almieda had a KO win second round against a guy, Albert Morales, who went on to lose 4 fights in the UFC, and I don't know if he fought it again, but was a can kind of, and then lost to Cody Garbrandt. So and that was in 2016. He's lost to Cody Garbrandt. So you can argue that these last 5 fights have not been. 4 of them have been losses and have not looked the best, and the one that he did win was against somebody who probably should not have been in the UFC. With that being said, though, before these fights, he's been an explosive ass striker. He's been an exciting, is always in bangers. His win against Brad Pickett is crazy. Flying knee, beautiful. Is a really explosive guy. Has been on a skid recently, but still dangerous. Then you throw in Sean O'Malley's foot problems. You see, go back to the Andre Sukumtov fight. He loses that fight if Andre Sukumtov isn't a freaking retard.
Oh my god!
He broke his foot or did whatever he did to him in that round.
And then he took him down.
And then he took him down, right? And Sean O'Malley wins the decision that way. But it doesn't take him down there. Sean O'Malley can't keep fighting, and that's his first loss to Andre Sukumtov, who's a idiot. So whatever, he hurts that the first time, fights Marlon Vera, gets kicked in the leg, hurts it again the second time. It's an ongoing injury. It's not a guy that I can say consistently I can bet on as this hard of an underdog with an injury that consistently has almost hypothetically against fighting somebody who's not a fucking idiot, and Andre Sukumtov, who has already lost 2 of his fights in the UFC, which is a significant amount. When you look at it, he only has 3 fights in the UFC. Or 4 fights. What is it? Yeah, 4 fights in the UFC. So that's why I'm staying away from Sean O'Malley on the outright bets. Maybe in a couple of parlays because he definitely has the lion's share of a chance to win this fight. But still, I don't like that foot, and I don't like Thomas Almeida's explosiveness.
Yeah, dude, those recurring injuries are tough, man.
Yeah.
Like, if you hurt your ankle, if you hurt your, knee or whatever, that's what Sugar Sean has. It keeps coming back, and people keep targeting it, which isn't fun. But I think O'Malley has to win, and I think he's going to knock him out. Because what happened, was that against Cheeto Vera, that was his time to like catapult up to the top 10 because he was 15 at that time.
Right.
He drops that one by leg kicks because he fucks up his by the leg kicks his knee got fucked up, and then I think this one he'll do well. I think he'll knock him out. Honestly, I'll say that with confidence.
And the one thing I will say is you can bet your ass that the powers that be at the UFC have tried to perfectly formulate this matchup to make sure that Sean O'Malley wins in exciting fashion.
Yep.
So you got to think that they might know a thing or two about what they're doing. So I am also confident in Sean O'Malley to win, but I am not going to bet the house on him. I'm not going to bet big on him because there is real possibility that Thomas Almieda says, all right, game plan is to hammer fucking leg kicks into him until he drops. So, yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point you make about like the UFC having this set up perfectly for Sean O'Malley, having him set up for a knockout so they could build him up again. So
right, because it's very transparent that they want this guy to be a new face, a new whatever you want to call it of the UFC, and they want to set him up nice.
I know, yeah, absolutely. All right, so I got Sugar Show, but Ian's not sure. Maybe
I would say Sugar Show too, but I'm not betting the house on it.
Fair enough, I ain't either. I don't bet the house on anything, man. I'm scared.
Speaking of fuckos, Tyron Woodley, Vicente Luque in the co-main event, new co-main.
Some respect on the former champ, bro.
Dude, I just can't stand his ass, dude. When he was a champ, I could stand him because you're the champ, but when you're not the champ, it just fucking... God damn. It's the funniest. There's a good video I've saved of maybe I'll slap it up here. What the fuck's his name? Tyron's like with his doctor, and he's like, "Oh, you got docs, you got jokes, doc, huh?" And doctor's like, "Tyron, I've knocked more people out than you since the last time you've been here."
Oh my god!
Oh, nice.
Also, the time when Dana was like, every time Tyron Woodley opens his mouth, he shoots himself in the foot.
Yeah.
That's kind of true, bro.
He's not wrong.
I respect T. Wood. Like, he fucking got to the belt. He knocked motherfuckers out left and right. He did what he had to do. He stopped the Darren Till hype train. But, dude, he's dropped a couple that he should... Like, I know it's against Usman, Burns, and Covington, but I don't know.
I feel like a shell of a fighter.
That was, like, 0-5 in all three of those fights. Like, Covington TKO'd him, but it was 0-5 in all three of those fights. But... We got Vicente Luque, though. Phenomenal striker taking him on. I like that he got this big opportunity. Who did he fight last? He fought Randy Brown and then Nico Price. TKO and KO both of them. So he is a great striker. I love watching Vicente Luque fight, honestly.
I think his nickname should be the Professional. Because I feel like that's just what he fucking embodies. I feel like he does everything right. He still has that intensity, the grit, the aggression, but also is the textbook tactician. And I really fucking like him. He gets a loss to Stephen Thompson. Wonder Boy, baby. Nothing you can do about that, man. Yep. Best goddamn striker in the UFC. Had to adjust a couple things. And other loss to Leon Edwards, which was a lot younger in his career. He's improved leaps and bounds since his Leon Edwards fight.
And Leon Edwards is very, very legit. Like, we saw
amazing.
2 weeks ago, but he looked fucking phenomenal in the first round. There's no denying it.
And even you can even tell before the Leon Edwards fight had a win over Bilal Muhammad, KO'd him in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So with all that being said, the only thing that worries me a little bit is that the old Tyron Woodley does have that left hand, right hand,
right,
yeah, right
overhand,
hand,
right.
That overhand right. That you can just send like a fucking missile, straight line through it, draws people in, kind of gets backing up, and you walk right into that right hand counter. But hasn't done it for goddamn, 50 minutes or 25, 40 minutes, however long he's been in the octagon, getting pummeled by people. And Vicente Luque, like I said, he's the goddamn professional. I say 80%, 85% win chance for Vicente Luque here. I don't see Tyron Woodley has given no signs or glimpses that he's going to turn the ship around, that this is a bump in the road. I think this is 1 foot out the door for Tyron Woodley. But Vicente Luque, all the way. Only thing that makes me a little bit nervous is that right hand counter trap of Tyron Woodley. But got to go with logic, and Vicente Luque's been looking sharp, heavy hands, and is smart. Uses IQ, so he's not. I don't think he's going to be. He'll be ready for that.
Yeah, dude, I completely agree with you. I think that right hand is very scary. It's won him plenty of fights. T. Woody won in the belt against Robbie Lawler. He's a scary, strong dude, but Vicente Luque is crisp. He's sharp. He's smart. He knows what to do in those situations. Like, dude, if you look at the line, it's minus 260 Vicente Luque, which I think is a little far up. Because T. Wood was a former champion, all his losses are to like top 4 guys. Basically, if you look at Usman the champ, Burns just fought for the belt, and Colby just fought for the belt before that. So he's fought some dogs, but dude, he's been timid as fuck, man. Like, it's sad to see, because he's an absolute legend. Like, coming from Strikeforce, winning the UFC belt, he's a legend. But like, he's dropped those 3 where he hasn't even shown any hope. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he hasn't shown that fight.
Yep.
Like, you want him to defend those takedowns. You want him to just, maybe throw a couple of wild bombs. Just, take a chance. But he's not been doing any of that.
Some type of aggression or explosion.
Yeah. But he hasn't done any of that in 3 fights.
And you know what's fucked? It seems like he's going to do it. Oh,
yeah.
Here he goes. Oh,
he's
and he never
up,
fucking does it.
And then he doesn't do it.
Doesn't do it.
And it's, like, sad to see, like, T-Wood, he does get annoying on the mic and all that, but he's a great fighter, no denying that.
And he's a good dude. At the end of the day, I know he's a good dude, and he means well. I just can't.
Yep.
Just can't stand the personality.
It's tough to root for him, man. Like, I'll admit it.
Right.
It's tough to root for him because of, I don't know how he behaves. But he's a good dude. He deserved his belt when he had it. He defended 2 or 3 times against Wonderboy Till. He did a great job. Everyone was saying that maybe he's the next welterweight, like, GSP or whatever, but that was shut down pretty quick. So yeah, I think Vicente Luque, man. I don't know. If it stays on the feet, Vicente outpoints him all day, unless he gets caught by that bomb.
I think Vicente also has enough to take his ass out of there.
You think so?
Yeah, if Tyron decides another fight that's going to go down the tubes, another one that, because I think in his heart of hearts, he wants to get back to that animal shit, but it's not coming and it's not there. Mm-hmm. And I think if that same thing happens, that Vicente Luque might have enough power on the feet here to put him away. Because Colby Covington, Gilbert Burns, and Kamaru Usman are not going to shut your lights out on the feet.
Burns would. Burns put his ass on the floor a couple of times.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But that's what he's been working into. Where Vicente Luque has that OG power.
Yep, Vicente Luque is a striker, like the crisp, clean striker. And I wouldn't be surprised if he puts him on his ass and then rolls him over and gets him in a submission, too, Vicente. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think he survives on the ground with him even after getting dropped, but I like Vicente big time. Yep. Very confident. 2 out of 3 on Vicente, confidence scale.
Fair. I'm not going to say anything.
All right, now let me get these 2 big-ass bastards out of the way. The pride of Croatia, Stipe Miocic against Francis Ngannou. Stipe getting a little more respect than how the line started. I believe it's a little closer. I believe it's still closer to a little even money here. A little plus 150, plus 120, something like that. And on paper, as much of a Stipe fanboy as I am, it's hard to blame him. Francis Ngannou, the scariest dude in the world. And then it's like, oh well, he's 15-3, so he's been KOing everybody, all these scary ass fucking dudes. Let's go back and see what those 3 are. Okay, Derek Lewis. Wow, he lost to Stipe Miocic. Oh. Well, that's weird. Why are they strung together? Because Stipe stole his fucking soul in the first goddamn fight. Soul, 5 rounds to 0. All wrestling based, right? That's the mark of a true fucking champion. That's why GSP gets the nod for the fucking GOAT. You're a Swiss Army knife. Any situation, baby, you can throw it into it. Pressure striker doesn't matter. You can out wrestle him. Or power striker, you can out wrestle him. You're up against a wrestler, you got enough takedown defense, and you're good enough on the feet to KO him or do fucking whatever, right? So, all roads lead to Stipe Miocic leaving with the fucking belt. You gotta watch the Embeddeds going out this week because it's amazing.
Oh, dude, he's been a gem in those.
A gem.
I've loved it. I've loved every second of it.
And all respect too to Francis Ngannou. Also a great dude. If I wasn't such a big fan of Stipe, he'd be. I love his personality. Also, he fucking. There's something
his
about
story too is cool.
The story's amazing, and there's also something about these dudes, these foreign dudes who get into the UFC and haven't necessarily mastered the English yet, but it makes it so pure what they're saying because it's fucking simple and it's what they mean or what they're thinking. You can perfectly make out what
straight
they're
up.
what
straight
they're
up because
exactly.
they can't mix their words.
They can't.
They don't know what else to
mince
say.
words with anything, right?
Yeah.
So I love seeing Francis doing that shit too because you can tell he's a great dude, and you can hear him say, never really had any friends. I was always moving around, so I've always liked to spend time by myself or whatever. So you can tell, even though he's the biggest, scariest dude, one of the biggest genetic freaks that we've seen, athletic wise, still was wasn't popular or whatever, and didn't have it made whatsoever. But with that being said, as a nice American Northeastern boy myself, I love to see the blue collar fireman American shit. You can never. There's no place in the world that can overtake that energy. You got to believe it at least, even though they've done it 100,000 times. But Stipe is the best version of what I could be. So I got to ride with him on that. Unfortunately, I'm not a large black man from Cameroon, so if I couldn't steer Francis's journey has not been as relatable as it is for Stipe's for mine. So I love Stipe. Gotta ride with him through the fire. He's a fireman. You control the fire. You control the flames. That's Teddy Atlas for you.
Yep.
But Francis Ngannou, so everybody knows. There's not even too much to break down here. Just goddamn sledgehammers in his hand, can KO anyone at any point. But Stipe's got it all.
Alright, so since dropping the Stipe fight, he lost to Derek Lewis. And then Curtis Blades, Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, Jairzinho Rosenstrike, all first-round knockouts for Francis Ngannou. You know what we've learned from the last Stipe fight? Fucking nothing. That's the problem. If Curtis Blades would have taken, who's the second-best wrestler after DC, I think, in heavyweight, DC's retired now. If Curtis Blades would have maybe eaten one or two, which is tough to do from Ngannou, but if he would have just avoided or eaten one or two punches from him and taken him down, or even if Cain, I don't know, like Cain had that wrestling pedigree too, but if one of them would have just tested him in the first or second round by just putting him on his back,
we would know much more.
We would have learned a lot more. The problem is that, yeah, dude, of course, Francis is the man. He has the touch of death. He will fucking knock you out from anywhere. He has power in left, right hand. I don't know. He can knock you out so quick. You wouldn't even have time to settle and look at Jairzinho Rosenstrike. But then that didn't happen, dude. So we don't know if he can stop takedowns, if he can get up off his back. Look what Stipe did in the first fight. Stipe did absorb a couple of big ass blows, and I hope he doesn't have to do that anymore because I'm rooting for Miocic too. But I think if he does that, he might have a little tougher time. But if he can just do what he did last time, which he obviously can, he's gotten better. He stuffed takedowns from DC. He got up from DC. So his wrestling is always getting better. That's Miocic. I think he'll do it again. I think it'll be a 5-0 again, if not a late TKO by Miocic. Ngannou's the man. Obviously his story's so great from Cameroon. Had to move around. Had to work so hard to get where he is. Started MMA late in his life, just starching people, just showing his power and everything. But, dude, we gotta see. The thing is that we can't call a fight that we haven't seen evidence of. If we would have seen, like I said, Blades take him down for 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, and then if Ngannou got up and then knocked him out, it would have been a different story. Maybe I'd pick Ngannou. But we haven't seen any of that, man. Because you look at the first round between Stipe and Ngannou, you see how shot, how exhausted Francis was. He says it himself, dude, I didn't know what was happening. I was so devastated. I thought I would just catch him. But that Miocic, man, dude, Miocic is he's the greatest heavyweight of all time, but he's still one of the most underrated fighters on the UFC roster. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like if he wins this fight, he has to be at least number 2 on pound for pound. And here's another thing that I will say, that if Francis Ngannou wins this fight, I don't believe John Jones should fight the winner. I don't believe John Jones should fight Francis. Stipe should fight Francis because he deserves a rematch. And if they make the Jones and Ngannou fight, Stipe should get the winner of that without having to fight before that. Because, dude, he's the most successful heavyweight. It's the toughest division. It's the scariest division. He's defended it 4 times now, won it twice. So there's no denying the man. I know John Jones is the greatest of all time. Some people would say. I would agree. But, dude, that just can't happen. I think Stipe deserves a rematch regardless.
I totally agree. And I'm gonna be long-winded here. But I remembered a bunch of shit that I was thinking about while I was going over it. And fuck it, what the fuck, I'm gonna say it. So, doing my research and thinking about it, I was never not going to bet on fucking Stipe because I love the man, but my own unbiased, whatever, I started thinking, you get the, after the Stipe loses terribly with the wrestling, didn't do any preparation for the wrestling, then goes up against Curtis Blades and Cain Velasquez. I'm sure in those camps, Francis does. I'm sure in those camps that after learning, possibly learning a lesson, if he's not a dumbass, about the wrestling catastrophe that happened in the Stipe fight with him, that he would work hard on his wrestling takedown defense going up against Curtis and Cain Velasquez. And I started to think, he's had a lot of time to prepare for this wrestling defense, yada, yada, yada. And then I remembered, you don't just fucking get training partners like Stipe or like DC or whatever, or else they'd be in the fucking UFC or whatever, right? And here's the other thing, and it's the age of COVID shit. You can't just bring people from other countries to come into your gym or to get into wrestling. And I was watching the Embedded episode, and Francis is working get-ups on his big coach. He's not a fucking wrestling professional or didn't wrestle.
He's working on technique with Usman.
Interesting.
Like the
Still,
rest defense, yeah.
Usman's not a fucking heavyweight either.
Yeah.
But just to get those bodies and that power. And the other thing that made me a little wary is that Stipe's coming off of this trilogy fight with DC, right? And DC's coming from light heavyweight, isn't a power puncher like Francis is. So your last 3 fights are against a guy who's coming up from a lighter weight class and is a huge jump from Daniel Cormier's punching power to Francis Ngannou's punching power. So that made me a little wary, but he's passed the Junior Dos Santos test. He's passed the Alistair Overeem test, and he's passed the Francis Ngannou test before being able to eat it. So while I stumbled a little bit on my road, like I said, all trails lead back to Stipe with the fucking belt, baby.
It is scary though, dude. Like, Francis is a fucking monster, and dude, like he's got some different kind of power. Like, his technique is good now, but his power is crazy. I'm scared. Like, I'm rooting for Stipe. Stipe is my pick, but I'm scared, obviously. How could you not be? There's a fucking predator across
It's good to be scared tonight.
Yeah.
It lets you know you're alive.
Yeah.